Hi everyone, welcome. I'm really sorry YouTube isn't working again. My husband James is really trying hard. He's been working at it and he just can't seem to see why they're not doing anything. He's gonna message them again and see whether we can get this up and running. With that in mind, we may end up doing some test streams, so you may see me as marked as going live throughout the week here and there, because YouTube doesn't let us test it unless we're actually going live. It won't be me actually doing anything and it will be deleted as soon as, so ignore it unless it's Wednesday. Okay, right, with that kind of out the way, I'm going to show off my items of the week because they're already laid out. These are all in my shop and they're my newest, well, one of 3 new sets of statues that I've done, but I chose to show this range first. So what we got are animals in wheelchairs, on crutches and on walking sticks. I like to make these sorts of models to help people who have got health problems see something positive and pretty and happy involved with their disability. As all of you know, I've got a lot of health problems myself, so I really do relate to it. So let's start out down the bottom with my penguin. So
process, they are so cute.
Thank you. Wheelchairs, they're not easy to make, and I have worked out a decent method. This is my penguin in a wheelchair. Now, penguin in a wheelchair is 16. Bear in a wheelchair is also £16. So they're slightly more expensive than the others, which these are 15, these 4. And dragons are slightly more expensive because they take a lot more work to make dragons than I do any of the other animals. So yeah, we've got a bear. So he's 16 in a purple wheelchair. And the dragon in a wheelchair is 18 because it's the hardest animal in a complicated wheelchair, but it's got his tail up the back. I'm really pleased with him. And just as a sneak peek, I'm starting to make the range for unicorns for all this. So this is my first one out of them all, which is a unicorn in a wheelchair. That still needs its second baking, and I still need to make the walking stick versions and the crutches versions. So they will hit my shop once I get them done. Right, dragon on a stick is 17. And I really like the red and copper combination I used there. Nice green swirl base. My very happy, proud looking bear on a walking stick.
Love the tail coming out the back ruffle. Oh, the unicorn's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it took me a while to get it so that I can poke the tails through the hole in the bottom so that they weren't just crushed at the back. It took me ages to work out how to make it so that the wings on a dragon sit well while sat in a wheelchair, but I got there. Right, penguin on a walking stick. Again, 15 for this one. And there's one of each of these. I haven't made lots of the same thing, so if you want it, you're going to have to get in quick. Right, dragon on crutches. So what I've done is most of the NHS has the whole silver bar with grey plastic. So these are standard NHS fair crutches. He's got lovely big red eyes, and that's him from behind. Bear on crutches, and I really do love the base of this one, the purples and teal and gold. Very peacock. I use that mix fairly often, and I've done a dark blue base for the penguin. Right, so between £15 and £18 this little lot, plus postage. Right, let's just get them all out the way. Sorry, this is going to take me a second to move that many statues, but I will. So, Darthborough, have you had a good week? And have you started your new job yet? There we go. Right, and all the bits to clean them, I moved them out the way. No? Had a good week yet? So far this week, Darthborough? No response? That's alright, I'll continue with this. You might be busy doing something. Right. Sip a drink. What we're going to do this week. Now, I'm making the next one in the range of my crystal hearts. So this week it's a white heart, and I'm making a rabbit with them. Now, I'll show you the form of how I've done this. Let's bring it up closer so you can see the one I've already done. The lighting does not show white very well. There we go. Turn it down a bit and it looks dingy, but you can see it clearer. So they're lop ears, because I find lop ears cuter. How I did all the dark patches is I got white clay and then I smudged off a bit of black onto my fingers, smudged it into my finger a bit, and then dabbed it onto the ball of clay before I started shaping the rabbit. So it then pulled it out into much more intricate markings, and it looks very, very it doesn't look so artificial when you use your fingers, because you've got some smudges of grey on there. It's not just either dark splodges or white. There's some smaller markings you'll end up with by doing this. So what I'm going to do is we're going to make the next rabbit, but we're going to do it laying down on the other side. Now, like I always do with sculpting, I dig out the animal that I've got, because I collect the little plastic animals. If anyone's got a plastic pug dog, do send it my way. I'm happy to give you £1 or so for it. I only need a little one, but it's one of the only dogs that I've not got in my collection, so I'm just throwing it out there. But today we're on lop-eared rabbits, so that's my lop-ear. And I went on to Google Images and found several images of rabbits, which I then put together using quick collage, so that I've got a visual to work from. Now, I've got no copyright for any of these images because I'm not actually copying it. I'm looking at size and proportions and that sort of thing to make sure that what I end up with is properly rabbit-like. So I'll just check. Are you able to bring up that rabbit image, please?
I worked out the problem. I'm sorry.
This is what I'm going to be working from. So can you see I've got shots from lots of different angles, and because I'm doing a rabbit laying down, I've also got that. And you can work from drawings, photographs, teddy bears, plastic models, ornaments, but it's far easier to sculpt if you've got something visual in front of you. Now, having said that, I find that when I make stuff with images of other people's versions that they've made out of clay, I get swayed in that direction, and it tends to not be my own creation. So if you look, I've avoided any pictures of polymer clay rabbits that people have made for that reason, and you'll find you'll make your own style far more readily than if you completely copy 100%. But it's alright to start that way, and some people remain that way and just get very, very good at reproducing. I'm not saying you can't, it's just not for me. Yep, you can de-rabbit the screen now. So the next one.
It was my fault, sorry.
Okay, we have worked out the problem on YouTube.
I'd have to restart the screen.
Okay, in order to make this live on YouTube, apparently it can be done, but he'll have to restart the whole stream, which is going to be complicated. So we'll have to continue like this week, and then be really assured that we've actually got it sorted for next week. Really sorry to all the YouTubers, but the video will go up on YouTube. So yeah, sorry all. So okay, we're going to make the majority out of this yellow. Now what I've done here, it's majority white, a pinch of the true yellow, and a little bit of brown to start making it look more of a tan colour than a very bright pale yellow. So that's how I got there. Also going to be using some white that I've conditioned down, and to make this pink, it's white and magenta, which you'd think are the normal mix, but it's also got a pinch of orange in it, and that makes far more of a skin tone than if you just go for white and pink. That makes more like a chewing gum, bubble gum colour. That's what I'm looking for. Right, so I am going to first off take off enough for the head and ears, like that. Now that's probably too much, but I'd rather give myself a bit of extra than not enough. So we're going to start. You can either start with a ball that you then bring out into log shape, or I'm just starting with the log shape because this has already been conditioned. But it's easier to work from that shape than it is to work from a ball when you're making a rabbit, I find. So I'm going to start by pinching out enough clay for the limbs. Now the back one tends to have a wider foot to it than the front, so it's okay if you don't get them even top to bottom. If anything, that's what you want to achieve, but you want to try and get them quite similar to each other on opposite sides. So any weird shape, and where it's not just rounded over nicely, you can just smooth it out and twiddle with it until you've got something roughly leg shaped. But we're going to be doing a lot more with that later, so you're just, I call it allocating clay. You're putting off to one side enough clay to do the leg with. So this one I'm going to do a lot thicker because I'm going to use these as the back legs, and that needs a lot more clay to it because you've got the hips to do as well. And just take that from the middle, so just pinch around where you want. So that's your very start.
And that does the arms and the legs aren't along the same line?
No, because all you do is that.
Oh, cool.
Clay is brilliant. It's very, very flexible. You can really easily fix mistakes mostly. So we now want that sort of teardrop shaped body. So that means we're going to need less up the top and more down by the back. So I'm just pinching clay and pulling it up that way. Do you see? To give a little lump, so we've got a nice butt shape going on. Now, they don't have much neck. They really don't. It's very much like the head is just squidged onto the body. So if you were going to do something like a cat and dog, you can pinch out a neck from there, pinch out a tail if that's where you're going with it, but I'm not. What I'm going to do is I want to try and create that bump at the back for the back legs. So this clay, there's a lot of it, I'm going to be pushing it back up. Can you see? Like that. So we now have almost the teardrop lump and a bit sticking out. And that's a really good thing about this, is that you can, as well as making bits thinner, you can actually push back on it and make it look thicker again. Now we want to do a rabbit laying down, so let's get my picture up. I'm going to use my mobile for that picture to get the back leg right. So the bump goes that way, like that, and then if we're facing this way, the back leg goes out like that, and then the foot comes down like that. So push it out to the shape you want for your foot. We're going to go like that, form a bit more of a heel to it by pinching at the joint. So like that. See? And you got that nice chicken wing going on, and you, once you've done the other foot, you can just make sure that that bum's rounded and not got any flat bits. But repeat again with the other foot. So bring it out to roughly the same length, pinch your heel in the back, make sure it's long and narrow and rounded at the tip. We got two legs, so they kind of do that. I'm going to bring that hip in a bit to a shape that I want, like that. Now the front paws are really quite easy because they do a very small bend. You don't have the build up like you do on the back, so you just put the elbow in, lay it out, and then squidge your front paw so that you've got it flat like that. Make sure the elbow is out to one side and the arm is coming down. Now I know I've got dust and stuff on this. I am going to wipe it down with alcohol at the end, which really does help. So let's bring that like this. I'm just repeating again on the other side. There we go. Rabbit front paw. I make sure I get the positioning how I want before I put them on to the piece, like that. There we go. What do you think? I can already see the bump on that side of the bum.
If you're gonna go up,
sorry,
you have to be very central.
There, like this. So we got that sort of shape. Yeah, just gonna lay down like that. Now the next thing, lay it kind of flat start from the top of where their pelvis would be and just pinch out a little bit of a spine. You don't want it to be very, very prominent, and make sure you round the sides off so it doesn't look like it's a very thin point, because it makes the animal look really skinny. But there you go. So you can see that's how much of a backbone. It's just a hint, and if it's too prominent, just lightly tap it down with your finger, tap around the edges. You'll find that it does recede, and just put a little hint of a backbone in, because it's something that we expect to see. So another sip of drink. Now I'm going to get a pin tool, just draw some the little toes out on the front paws, so 2 lines going down. Like that. Now the back paws, because we got it soles of the feet facing up, we're going to put in some little toes. So this one isn't helpful, most of the plastic ones aren't, for rabbit feet, but I'm going to quickly go into Google, because I didn't even think about rabbit feet, and again, just Google image and you just put down exactly what you want. There you go. Not food, foot. Sorry. There we go. Rabbit foot. And it's all top sides. Oh no. There's an underside and it's fluffy. Admin, will you find me the underside of a rabbit foot and I'll carry on with the rest of it? Thank you. Right. I'll do the head whilst I'm waiting for this to be found. So I'm going to put a little bit of wire in, because it just helps secure the clay. You don't need a lot. It doesn't even need to be that thick. Oh, it's pretty much a cat paw. That's useful. So let's do the head. Take off some for the ears. Now that's going to be too big. If you look, the head size is about 1/4 of the size of the body, so you could probably fit 4 tucked in around.
Some of these are more fluffy.
Yeah, apparently you can get very floofy paws, so you don't see the toe beans, but I like toe beans. So rolling out a ball for the head. Now they've got quite a flat face.
Not food, foot, ruffle. Sounds like me trying to use my phone.
I know, right? They've got quite a prominent forehead slope going down to quite a flat face, so it's not like a long muzzle that you're aiming for. So I first start to try and shape that sort of forehead and the flat side of the eyes, because can you see it doesn't round completely. They've got quite a flat face either side.
That process I'm I.
Yeah. So there we go.
I'm loving the shape of the rabbit so far.
Very, thank you, Daft Brow. So there we go. Not a lot of muzzle, the diagonal straight down to quite a prominent forehead. That's a roughly good rabbit shape. Now the next stage in is we want to make these mouth bumps. Can you see they've got 2 little lumps, and that over hangs the bottom lip. So how I'm going to do that is I got a really good dentist tool. You can get them offline. Make sure you're in line with the nose ridge and push in quite deeply, and then you can bring that round and really pick out, sorry, like this, and you can really pick out the bumpy bits. Oh, it does look a bit rough at the moment, but we're going to do a bit of twiddling around. First thing I do is, because that's quite a thick gap, I push them back together again. Make sure they're roughly the same sort of size. I've still got the face right. Now, brought that line up a bit further than I want, so I'm just going to smudge it in. There we are, like that. So just with the use of that tool, it makes being able to do that sort of cleft palette very, very easy. So we're there already. Now, next stage is to put some eyes in. So find a ball tool or something rounded that is the right sort of size for the eyes. Now their eyes are pretty small, so this one looks like it's going to be too big. So I'll go down a size. What do I think about that? There we are. Right. Possibly even going down to this. Yeah. So once you've decided the right size tool, just put a shallow, then it should just about cover the head of the tool, of the ball shape, like that. Now, because rabbits are prey species, predators have their eyes on the front closer together. Prey species have their eyes round the side of each side of the head. Yeah, so you've got to make sure you get them back round there rather than up the front, or it looks odd. Now, tiny bit of black for little eye dots. Remember, before you get on with handling the rest of your clay, you need to wipe your fingers down or you're going to smudge black on it. Black is one of the colours that really does cling to your fingers. Weirdly enough, not as bad as red. Red is worse, but both will definitely show up on this. So I've done two tiny little balls, made sure they look roughly the same sort of size. Then I'm going to put them to one side, get some tissue, wipe the black off my hands. I know I'm going to still handle black, but I've got to handle the head, so I want to make sure that I don't accidentally make it any worse. And if you do get any black clay on your light coloured rabbit where you don't want it, just put some rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol onto some kitchen roll or a cotton bud and just wipe over. That's what I'm going to do to get rid of the dust, but it'll also take off any smudging of colours. So we got the eye in place like that, but it looks very, very much like a black dot. We want to put some eye creases in. So with my needle tool, I'm just going to do a couple of little crease lines that way. If you want more of an eyelid, just squidge the top down slightly. Just be gentle with it all. And the crease in the other side. There we go. So can you focus in?
Yes, it's focused in.
That's eye one that I've just the crease lines in. that side too. Do you see what I mean? Just by adding 3 lines and bringing the eyelid down a bit, you stop it looking so shocked. So just slightly down with the top.
Shocked, doesn't it?
Put a little crease in that side and a little crow's foot on the other side. There you go. Now try and get rid of some of these fingerprints. The white I'm using is really good at showing them up. You just use your fingers just to lightly rub it down. But that's the head so far. I'm going to put it so that it's just slightly in from the back of the skull, that spike, just where you would imagine the neck and spine to be. Push it in place, and then I can start to get rid of some of these fingerprints, because just by, if you stroke your animal like you're petting it, you'll get rid of the fingerprints. So we're now this far. Back a bit, sorry, there we go. Yep. Now, I'm going to put a little nose on him. And we're going to put some toe beans. And it's all going to be with that pink. So first off, I'm going to do a little triangle nose at the very top of the cleft that we made. So rounded top, pointed bottom. You want the point to face downwards, so like that. Sorry, there you go, like that. Make sure it's on securely, and then we're going to go to the back feet. I think this foot needs to be a little bit longer. There we go, that looks better. Going to put some, so how many toes was it? 4 toes?
Yes.
Right, so they're going to have to be tiny, tiny. So small balls. Let's go like that. And I'm gonna divide that in half actually. I think that's too big a ball of pink. So like this. Tiny, tiny, tiny. I know it's hard to see on the screen because of how small and they're light, but I'm gonna make up the 4 toes for each feet and then the pad for the base after that. 3, 4. Right, do you guys want to hear something completely random? Apparently there is a company in, is it Japan or China, called Hagoromo, Hagoromo. They make apparently the best chalkboard chalk in the world, and they have started to run out of supplies of it. So mathematicians and scientists are hoarding it and dealing it like you deal drugs. They got secret stashes of the stuff. It's ridiculous. And my brother-in-law, he's quite an amazing scientist, and he says that it really does make a difference when you've got to write a board full of equations. Actually having some chalk that actually writes very smoothly and cleanly makes a massive difference. So he can completely see why they would do that, and I just thought it was hilarious that would be a thing, but it is. So I'm making a slightly larger dot for the pad, just making it slightly less round and a bit more how can I describe this? It's like a very, very fat teardrop. Here, I'll show you. Can you see the shape that I'm doing there? Yeah?
The more central you can get it, the better.
Yeah.
The better. Can you see? Yeah.
That's the shape, so kind of fat teardrop. Now, either you can be really steady and try and place them with your hands, or use a ball tool. Just pick the dot up with the tip, then start placing in the toe beans. Don't push them down because you've got to make sure you can fit all 4 on.
Darth Brass says you can see the shape, yes.
These feet are so small, I might have even done the dots too big because I can only fit 3 in, and there are 4 toes. So this is going to be some tiny work, which anyone who knows me well knows I hate tiny work because I've got chunky fingers. So let's.
I love those ball tools, they're so good for clay modelling.
They really are. Right, let's divide my balls into halves and then turn those into dots. So the good thing about me doing this live and it not being so polished is you can see everyone makes mistakes in their projects. That is entirely normal. So tiny, it's sticking to my fingers. There we go. That's the 3rd one. That's trying to be a sausage rather than a ball. There is no way I can show you this on camera because it's like rice grain. Well, smaller than rice grain. It's probably sugar grain. There we go. Tiny dots. So let's put them on. Yep, that looks more like it. 2, 3, and the 4th one that wouldn't come off my finger. There we go. 4 tiny toe dots, and once you've got them in place you then can push them down. So I'll show you now. Oops. Central, zooming, see? Toe dots. Make sure they're pushed down because they will look really rubbish if you try and glue them on. Right, now the pointy bit of that big foot pad goes towards the heel and a rounder bit goes in the middle.
You're definitely going to have to lift that one.
Like that. And suddenly your rabbit's got more rabbit-like feet. So I'll just make the smaller toe pads for the other side. Here we go. Right, let's collect up all this unused pink, put it back on its ball, because it's really important to be clean with your clay. It's very easy to get distracted, forget you got a little bit of something on your counter and it wind up getting attached to something else you're working on because you put it down and don't think, and you put it on top of that small bit of clay that you misplaced. Why has there got to be one that wants to stay stuck to my finger the whole time? There you go. Right, I'm getting crackly. I'm absolutely addicted to water with lime in it. I know lemon is the common thing, but I think lime tastes so much nicer than lemon. I don't know if I'm on my own with this, but that's my thing. And I suppose it's better than drinking lots of fizzy. I'm really not meant to drink fizzy drinks. So I'm just moving them over. There we go. This is the important reason why you don't push them down until you've got them placed where you want, because if you need to tap them over, you want to be able to do that without smudging. But that looks good to me, like that. So I push them down. I put the foot pad on and then I'll show you the other foot. There we go. Rabbit foot. So we got 2 feet looking right. We got a head. So all we really need now is ears and a towel. So I want to make a little white towel because I think it looks cuter. So you're going to get a blob of clay, the size you want the towel to be, and just twist it up so that it's not smooth and round, that you've got some nice lumps on it, like that. See? Sorry, there we go. So I've just twisted it so the top's got some lumps to it. I'm going to put that right at the base of the spine where the pelvis is, and then I'm going to use my needle tool just to put some more texture on. Now I'm going to hold it because I don't want to smudge that front out of shape. But the trick with clay, the thing that I found the hardest to learn, was to be aware of what you're doing with the hands that you're holding as much as the one that you're actually using with the tool. And at first I would find that I would literally just be squidging the work that I've done by holding it too firmly, and it's really easy. So if you're worried about that or you suffer with that a lot, then you can do multiple bakes. So put in your texture, then bake it, then smudge some clay on that's raw, and then put in a new lot of texture, because then you can, once it's baked, it's fine. Now this is the other thing I've been hearing going around at the moment. People talking about pre-baking their polymer clay work. This is not a thing. Well, it isn't. It isn't. It's being taken from, I'm not sure whether you even pre-bake ceramics. I know you can with some cakes and things like that, but basically the idea is you bake it for a very short period of time just to set the clay, so then you can rework on it. The problem is the clay going from soft to plastic hard is a chemical reaction. So if you don't bake it thoroughly, it will never get fully hardened and you'll have weak and brittle clay. So you can bake it several times. Once it's baked fully, it can go back through the oven as many times as you wish, so long as it's not at too high a temperature. It's at the temperature for your clay. So 110 for Fimo, I think it's 130 for Sculpey. But bake it properly, and then you're going to be fine. Otherwise, if you do this sort of 3 to 5 minutes, you're going to end up with some very weak, unstable pieces. So don't do it. Right, so let's show off that ear, that towel rather. You see, I've just a bit of swirling with a stick just makes it look like a really good fluffy towel. So ears are next. Now we want some decently long ones, so I'm going to give myself a nice old blob of clay that's about half the size of the head for each ear. So decently long rabbit ears. You want them to be, each ball to be the same size, so you haven't got one ear bigger than the other. So have a quick look around. That one's got a bit too much on it. Let's take some off. Because it's weird the things our eyes notice. Symmetry is one of them. There we go. Right. Quickly roll the balls out. And like I say every week, this is a trick worth learning because it cuts your time right down. Okay. I'm going to need to clean this clay off. This is why I don't work with pastels. They show every bit of dust. You're going to need a hazmat suit just to make it dust free. Or a lot of rubbing alcohol, which is what I got. So what I did was I formed a teardrop and I'm flattening and tapering it so that it's longer and thinner down to the bottom and got the round part, the round bottom of a rabbit ear. So you want 2 of these. So again, bring it out longer, squidge it flat. You don't want it too thin because it will be harder to handle and work with, more easy to break. So I tend to try and keep my clay to about 1/2 centimetre. Right, now rabbit's ears are not right at the top. They are on non-lop-eared, but lop-eared seem to have theirs far more down to the side, like that. So make sure they're in alignment with each other. So it's better to put them on with the face facing you, so you can make sure that they're symmetrically even. So we got like that, but they're boring ears. I'm going to smooth in that joint again with a ball tool. Make sure you don't smush the face into the ground, so you just be gentle with it and support it with your fingers. Just get rid of some of that top joint so it doesn't just look like the whole ear isn't attached. Now you find when you smooth with a ball tool, you don't get as smoother surface.
You need to be
Sorry,
under the camera.
Can you see there's like ridge lines in there? So again, how we got rid of fingerprints is the same to help smooth that out. You just stroke it a little with your fingers, pet the rabbit on the head.
Forward again.
Sorry, forward again.
If you go that high, you have to be
Sorry.
safe, or else it...
There we go. So I'm just smoothing out so that those ears are joined on and don't look weird. There we go. Under the camera, rabbit face. Now we're going to position him onto the model, and then I'm going to make those ears in different positions, I think. So I want to curve him round. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting my finger on the side that I want to curve and the other fingers towards the back legs, and just bring a curve in the body. Oops, where did that come from? Tiny bit of pink. That looks like a toe bean. It is a toe bean, that's why you got to make sure you push them on firmly. There we go. Right, so I'm just curving it round. I'm going to put it in place like this.
That process, he looks so great, Carly.
Thank you. I do like doing rabbits. I'm going to bring that ear so that it sits on top of the crystal, I think. Like this. Do a quick flick up like that. Bring the head round and bring that like that. Right, just getting rid of a few joining lines there where the underside of the ear touched the leg, there was a tiny bit came off. So I just smoothed that out. Right, here we go. We got the back legs. Uncoil the paper. So that's round the front. That's round the back. We got 2 rabbits in. So what do you reckon? It's not a difficult one. Got a toe bean off again. Once I come off camera, I'm going to make sure I push these on properly.
I think it's gorgeous.
So it's always worth, before you baking, go around and make sure that all your bits that you've added are added on firmly enough that they're not going to be knocked off. Let's bring that foot down to touch the floor.
Daft Brass is lovely.
Thank you, Daft Bra. I am very, very pleased with it. So I'll get it baked up, varnished, and it'll end up in my shop with the others that I've made so far. Thank you for keeping me company, Daft Bra. It's been lovely having you, and I hope others enjoy my video. I'm sorry about YouTube. I will have it up and running properly for next week. Have a great week, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.